What it is, everybody? Thanks for tuning back into another episode here on the Speedbug channel. I want to first and foremost start off by saying yes, for the ones that don't know and that watch, I am in South Florida. Hurricane Dorian is on the way. It is still sunny outside. Everything's still okay, and hopefully it makes its shift away, obviously, from Miami and keeps going back into the ocean and completely misses us. But everything is okay here at the moment. All of the cars, the motorcycles, and everything, they are all locked away, and everything is okay. If it's not, well, then I guess it's just not meant for me to have no shit. But everything's okay. So for all of you that are watching that are maybe in South Florida or have family down here, I hope that all of you are okay, and make sure you all get and take care and take the necessary preparations to the make sure that you're pretty much just okay. So best of luck to all of you, and hopefully everything is okay. But let's get into this video. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back here in the video. Now, this is a video that a lot of y'all have been waiting for a long time. Well, let me first and foremost tell you, I still do have the BMW. And the BMW is here. Now, is it here to stay? I'm not 100% sure. I got some things lined up and stuff like that, and I will kind of discuss and disclose some of that information on why and why not this bike also may be also on its way out. And I will kind of tell you why I kind of wanted to sell it, but some things have changed where it kind of makes me want to keep it. So, first and foremost, the BMW, this is the 2020 here in the United States, 2019 in all other places of the world, I don't know why, whatever. 2020 S1000RR. I think it has like 450 miles on it. I've barely ridden it and stuff like that. And for the reasons I don't like it, well, you can watch my 5 things I don't like about this bike, and it'll pretty much sum it all up. And for the ones that don't know, that just think that this bike is awesome, that are a bunch of brand whores, that I have to have Gucci, BMW, and everything else, well, it's not all that, and you may want to rethink about buying it. Kind of like also maybe potentially buying a Ducati, where not saying that the bike isn't great, but it may not be the best bike for your street application. First and foremost, man, this seat freaking sucks. Absolutely sucks 100%. It's got to be, at best, where the Panigale V4 is, but I would almost say it's kind of worse. The only thing that's better about it is that it has more detail. And I don't know what the hell BMW was thinking, but you already know. It just sucks. And the bike has really moved towards, versus the previous generation, really moved towards more of a race style, very racy style bike. And I understand they want to be more competitive and stuff like that, where the GSX-R, you know, that's the 600 there, the 1000 is over there, but the GSX-R really crosses the T's and dots the I's a lot better as a more street-mannered motorcycle. Not that it's not a beast on the track, but we all know that the R1 and there's other bikes that will potentially beat the GSX-R when it's going around corners. So the one great thing about the previous BMW is that it really had a lot of those attributes of a street motorcycle, and this bike, it does not. Now, I did focus on some things that I really did like about it and where it makes up for it, because this bike is very racy. Very racy. It is nothing like the old generation. Is it faster? Yes. Does it have more torque? Yes. Stuff like that. But it's not all just about the engine. It's also about its driving characteristics. And I will tell you this bike is going to be much faster, no question about it, around a racetrack than the previous generation. No doubt. To make up for it, the handlebars and stuff, and the position where you ride, it does help. But the suspension, by it being active suspension, really helps for the such shitty seat. That's pretty much where it stops on the street bike. Yeah, it has good headlights and stuff like that, but, you know, it's not all that. The display, it's not all that. That's not necessarily needed for a race bike. The race bike part, where the suspension can be very stiff, the riding position is very stiff. The feedback in the handlebars is very tight. The carbon fiber wheels The braking system, you can tell it's like really riding a more race bike, and you could almost say it's like almost right on par with an R1M. And for the people that want to sit here and say that the R1M is a great street bike, can you ride it every day? Sure, you can walk down the street with a toilet on your head, but that don't make it a good idea. And the R1M was an awesome bike, and I loved dipping it into the turns, probably more than any bike I've ever had. However, with that flat plane crank and a couple other characteristics that I'm just not going to go ahead and just list all off right now, really made it a shitty street bike. But where it was so shitty in this area, it was so much better in that area. Now, another big reason that I didn't want this bike anymore, because I was like, this bike is pretty much a straight track bike. And yes, you could say this is as well, and any other crotch rocket is, but no. Anyone that has a lot of sport bikes or has ridden a lot of sport bikes and has spent numerous and tens and thousands of miles on them know the difference between a well-mannered crotch rocket versus a well-mannered race bike. And this is hands down 100% way more targeted towards the racing sector. Absolutely. And I applaud BMW for doing it, because that's what some people will really say what the previous generation was lacking. But the previous generation made such a great street bike and made it so popular. Now, when this one came out, you kind of have some of the hype that it was going to be so much better and everything that the previous one had. As far as the performance, of course, yes it is. But that's pretty much where it stopped, and the rest is pretty much all geared towards racing. So as you can also see, I have not modded it yet because I did list it for sale. And I was going to flash the ECU and do a bunch of other stuff, and I just really haven't been in the biggest hurry to sell this specific bike yet. Now, I do own this. There's no loans or lien or anything. Again, for the people that say I rent these, or I bought this for views, this, that, whatever, okay, I'm happy you're a good believer in what you make yourself believe. That's why I'm not so much in the market to sell it right away, and I haven't been so adamant on selling it. At the same token, what really, really pissed me off the most was that I bought this bike, and the lockdown and the encryption in the ECU and everything else that went around it, because it's not fully OBD2 compliant, this motorcycle, where you really cannot change a whole lot. Now, there was no fuel maps, there wasn't anything. In the previous generation, BMW allowed you to modify the bike directly from the factory, whether it be with their maps or signing the waiver with the RCK3 package, where they're not even offering that for this motorcycle, at least here in the US. So I was kind of put me into a hard place. And if you just want to ride the bike in bone stock and just ride it, it works great. I have really no issues and complaints about that if you're just trying to ride the bike bone stock. I'm not really the stockish type of guy where I kind of like to make stuff and do things to it and make it my own. Now, I'm not sitting here to say that I need to put pistons and everything else inside of this, no. But I want to throw a pipe on it. You know, I want to throw a filter, maybe do a little bit of head work, you know, some intake work, trimming, this, that, whatever. Whatever, it doesn't matter what I decide to do. It's gonna change the way the fuel has to be delivered throughout the rev range and the power band. And throwing an exhaust on here and just moving some sensors around and changing adaptation values, it gets you by. It's a Band-Aid, but it doesn't actually make you any more power. Maybe it makes you 1 or 2 more horsepower up top, but you know, it's still not the correct fuel map. You want to have the correct air-fuel ratio. You want to have the correct timing. And there's plenty of other things that go along into it in tuning a motorcycle, just as there is to tuning a car. And for the people that know how to tune, such as myself, that's why I haven't touched it yet. And it wasn't about just voiding the warranty. It was about having the job done right. And I really couldn't make the bike my own. Sure, I can throw a windscreen on and delete my mirrors that like I always want to, throw some levers, this, that, whatever, you know, maybe fab up a rear tail tidy or something like that. All that's aesthetic stuff. But to actually make and change the mechanical engineering of how the bike runs, you know, from a software perspective, It just really wasn't out at the time I got the bike. Now I know I was like the first or second one in Florida to have one. Now there's a couple, there's a couple companies out there that will flash this bike and now have done it successfully, even as opposed to the last one. But I've seen some of the code. I'm not sitting here to say that it's perfect. There's definitely going to be much more improvements, but the bike is still so new. And now that you're able to remove the dead spots and things like that, it does give me actually hope for this bike and brings it back into the realm of me really, really liking it. But I will tell you this, those dead spots between second, first gear and second, third, fourth, fifth gear really sucked and really made this bike really unenjoyable to ride. So now that after you flash the bike, and it doesn't matter which company, and I'm not going to name any companies right off the top of my head. If you have the bike and you're looking into it, you know exactly which companies are out to do it. But if you're actually looking to flash the bike, it will make the bike more enjoyable. Again, it still doesn't solve the fact that the bike is, again, very racy for the street. And I'm not gonna lie, that is exactly why it is still my go-to bike. Hell, even my Grom, this is still my go-to bike. And you guys saw it, my previous BMW, yeah, it's the best all-around bike because of the features and everything like that. But you know, this bike still dollar for dollar still beat my BMW, and it's really just as fast. It just depended on what speed you were going on, because this bike still made way more torque, but the other one just made a little bit more horsepower. So I still find myself still going to this bike more and more, and I still, again, like when I sold my other Ducatis, I still have never really came in like, you know what, I just feel like I'm going to ride the S1000 today. I rode the S1000 the other day only because I haven't ridden it in like a month, and I just want to make sure all the lubes stay lubricated and everything inside of that. Yeah, that's right, I said lube stayed lubricated. Everything stays lubricated inside the engine. I'm just playing with you guys. You just got to make sure everything stays good. You know, the worst thing you can do is let it sit, but it's very racy, it's very tracky, and it doesn't make the best street bike as opposed to the GSXR or the previous generation. So again, to really sum up this video, I was going to sell it. The bike still is for sale. If somebody really came along and gave me the money, I really would. The bike has been for sale. I've probably had 50 people call me and sit there and say, hey, I want the bike, I'm ready to buy it, this, that, and the other. And then everyone's serious until it comes down to until it's time to pay me. So that's pretty much another reason why the motorcycle is still here. And if I do sell it, that's solely because I'm looking into move into something bigger and better, and actually not a motorcycle. I'm looking into some other property that this actually may help me acquire because I can use this money potentially maybe as a down payment or to secure a large piece of land to maybe potentially build some garages and stuff like that. So yes, that will be a better investment. These are all depreciating assets. They will never really probably appreciate, maybe except for the Trans Am, the Corvette, the Camaro, and all the motorcycles. They're pretty much all depreciating assets. The Trans Am is really the only one that will appreciate because it's a classic car and it's no longer made. But again, however, we'll see. I may keep it, time will tell. And I'm not in a big rush to sell this thing, but if someone that's watching, as I've sold a bike to a YouTuber before that watches and a subscriber, if you're ready to be interested, you know where to do it. Hit me up on Instagram. The motorcycle is still for sale. I think it has 400 and, I don't know, let's see how many miles this joker has. We could see. It should tell me. 472 miles. So not that big of a deal, and we'll see what's going to go on in that. But yeah, the bike is a great bike. I don't want to discredit it, but it's definitely not like riding a ZX-10, a GSXR, a CBR. It's definitely way more geared towards that Yamaha ride, and a Yamaha bike, its riding position and everything else is definitely always geared more towards that track style bike. And that's what BMW went for, and I really think they nailed it on their entire aura of delivering of their new motorcycle. Just may not be the exact bike or right bike for me, but who knows? Again, if everything else changes and goes right in other ways, I may keep it and start modifying this joker. And if I do, then I keep it and play with it and have fun, and when I'm done with it, you sell it. So no big deal. So I hope that answers a lot of your questions, and I think that's going to wrap it up here for today's video. I think we're at like 15, 16 minutes. So yeah, that's going to wrap it up. I hope you guys like what you saw. Facebook, Instagram, @TheSpeedBug. Same name here as YouTube. Peace.